Hi, it's Nick Stekovich, Project Management Revolution, and in this video, I'm going to explain why you should switch from a full-time to a consulting project management gig. Welcome back. So today we're talking about switching from a full-time employment to consulting or contracting in project management. So here's what I want to do today. So we're going to do the pros and cons of full-time versus contracting jobs, right? So for full-time roles, it's great to be a full-timer if you're working for a big company, or even if you're working for a smaller company or a medium-sized company, or even a large company, you have that security because, as a full-time employee, you get the benefits, you get the, possible stock options, you get ability to advance in the corporation as a result of being there for a long period of time. You also get the ability to really work with the same people and same teams. And, that makes it a lot easier, right? Obviously. If you take a look on the other side, we've got consulting or contracting, right, in project management. It's a little bit more, I would say, unstable, but there's obviously the trade-offs of switching to being a contractor, right? So one of the things, obviously, that why you should be looking into switching to consulting or contracting work in project management is because obviously it earns more money. Sometimes the benefits of that also can have its caveats, or can have its if for some people they would call them negatives, right? I don't personally call them negatives, but for some, the ability of not having a secure role or secure job can be an issue, right? So obviously, when you switch to contracting, you're going to be making more money than you're making full time. In my case, it was marginally the difference, right? Depends where you are, depends where you're watching this video and where you live. If you're residing in the US, or if you're residing in Canada or Australia, chances are that you're earning, if you're just a starting out project manager, you're going to be making anywhere from maybe 30K, 35K. If you're kind of a medium level project manager, you'll be somewhere around, I would say, like 65K. Maybe 70K, depends where you are, depends where in the world you are. And then if you get, the further you get out there as a full-time project manager, you're going to be making maybe, 90K, 95, 110, maybe 120. But that's at the very cusp of like the end that you can probably max out at, right? On the other side, you've got the contracting part, or the contracting roles. They're anywhere from, depends. If you're like in creative, or if you're in smaller niches, then obviously the rates are lower. But probably around, like, I would say $35 per hour. That's either US or Canadian or Australian, depending where you are. And then slowly it kind of progresses: 45, 55, 65, 70, 79, 85, 90, 100, 110, 120. It can go even up to 150, right? Depending, what you're currently working on. If it's a large, undertaking, that it can probably even be a lot more than that. Sorry, my phone just went on. But it can be anywhere from, I would say, 35 to probably 150K, right? And obviously, 150K an hour, on monthly basis is probably a lot more. It's probably, it's a lot more. It's marginally much more than a full-time role, right? Because at the max of 120 per year, 120K per year, you're going to be making, not sure if I'm doing the math correctly, but you're not going to be making more than $70 an hour or something like that, right? And that's before obviously taxes, right? And then the other side is, once you're a full-time employee, well, the problem is that you got to pay. The government automatically takes your pension, your unemployment insurance, and all these other things, and then you're also in the higher bracket of paying taxes, right? Obviously, if you switch to contracting, you're going to be incorporated. So you open up your own, consultancy, or you open up your own corporation, or incorporated, or limited liability corporation, and you're the sole owner. And once you register, depending where you reside, you pay certain fees or taxes, right? And if you're, for example, if you're in Canada, and if, let's say, like you're from Toronto or from Montreal, let's say you're from Toronto, you're Ontario, you're paying taxes like 13% for corporate taxes. So that means when you build a client, let's say for like 16K a month, that's you're giving them a bill with tax. In Ontario, it's called HST. In US, probably a different naming, has a different naming convention, but essentially you charge taxes on top of your services, and then that equals to a certain amount, like let's call it 16K, right? And then what ends up happening is out of the 16K, a certain portion is going to go for federal taxes, and then the other one is going to go for provincial taxes, depending. Obviously in US it's a different story, but you get the picture, right? So what ends up happening is in case of Canada or Ontario or Toronto you're paying on 16K, you're paying only 13% corporate tax, and then the remainder is basically your personal earnings, or if you've got expenses, if you've got employees, or if you have a couple employees working for you, or if you have maybe a family member that's also going to be working with you, whatever it is, there's ways how you can claim your employees and your expenses. But what ends up happening is you set yourself, so the 13% corporate goes away, and then you're left with the rest, which is 77% of the 77% of earning. You're basically going to be giving yourself a monthly salary or yearly salary, whatever you want to approach it as, and then on that salary you're going to pay a certain personal income, right? Personal income tax. So guess what? If you work as a full-time employee, then the government automatically deducts that. So that means that you have no chance of pretty much expensing maybe your car lease, or maybe certain things in your household, or maybe some other stuff, or something that you want to invest in business, your business, that in the end is going to be giving you the ability to increase your earnings, or help you move up into the ladder, right? Move up the ladder in your practice, right? And so that you can also expense it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can expense, but bottom line is that you're upfront, you're getting more money upfront by becoming a project consultant, right? And the other thing is also, because you're only staying for a limited amount of time, you're also going to be probably likely getting more paid than somebody who is a full-time. It kind of sounds strange, ideally, logically it would be that if you're a full-time employee working somewhere 10, 15 years, that you would be actually paid more than someone who comes in straight out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, obviously you end up getting a contract based on your experience, but what I'm trying to say is that you're coming from a place X into this company, and from day one you're going to be making more money than someone who's been there for like 15, 20 years. And then obviously there's many tricks. One of the things that I found out many years ago is that, the more you bounce from one contract to the other, chances are that you're going to be ending up making more money the further you start practicing, or the further you actually keep on doing that. So, for example, let's say like you started, so what I mean by that is you start at $50 an hour and you work in an industry, X industry, for 2 years or maybe a year and a half. And then you decide to move from that industry into a brand new industry, and you spend maybe a year or 2 years there. Then you jump into a different company in the same industry for maybe another year or two. And as you keep on jumping, especially when you keep jumping from industry to industry, what ends up happening over the course of X amount of years, not only are you going to be making more money, but you're also creating a vast portfolio for yourself in terms of the versatility of projects that you can actually manage. And what ended up happening many years ago was, everybody was just looking into one industry. So, for example, if you were a project manager in banking, or if you're a project manager in construction, and if your whole career was based on banking, then you would only be able to find jobs really in banking, because recruiters and companies were only hiring for those things. But guess what? Those days are over. First of all, COVID hit, and that has significantly changed the landscape of jobs. And now really what they're looking for is professionals that have a vast amount of experience, they have experience in many different fields, right? And then the other thing, also the advantage is that because there's a shortage in some of the industries, that likely you're going to be able to land a job quicker than somebody who's been spending their whole career in just one field, like banking or finance or insurance or whatever that is, right? So there is also another advantage of jumping from a contract to a contract. Obviously, one of the other things is that it's the hardest thing is actually moving from full-time to contract because of that first role. The tendency for the employers in the past was that if they were hiring a contractor, they would be hiring somebody who's comfortable spending only 3 months on a project or 6 months on the project. And in the past, that was possibly an issue. These days, not anymore, because as companies are planning out their spendings, they're also trying to limit the amount of financials they can actually burn. So a lot of the banks and bigger corporations are actually looking to limit that and actually segment it into 4 different quarters. So what that means is when you're a contractor, you're typically going to be hired for maybe 3-month engagement or maybe 6-month engagement, or maybe if the project lasts for a year, then you're going to be hired for the entire year. So guess what? Even better, because now that they've actually shortened the period that they can release funds, it actually allows you, if you switch to contracting, to be able to pick up a contract, because it's now a lot easier, and they're not looking for full commitment of a year or 6 months or maybe 2 years, right? That was kind of the things in the past, but that has kind of evolved with the whole stream and wave of agile, right? And the ability to change projects, change things on the fly, be able to transform and adapt to what essentially customers are looking for, and that's the whole point of it, right? Or the essential point of why things have kind of evolved over the years. And obviously, the advantages of also becoming a contractor is you own your own business, so you can expense stuff. Not going to go into details and the gray areas of what you can do, how you can claim stuff. Maybe perhaps later down the road I can dedicate a video just to that, but I'm trying to stay away from that. kind of lets you do your own thing. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits. Obviously, there's the ability to do a lot more projects, change industries, the ability to make more money, the ability to actually progress in terms of you're a project manager, but then obviously you can jump into program manager roles because now you've got a lot more projects under your belt, right? So that's also another great thing to have. Obviously, your financials, it gives you the ability to buy more things, enjoy your things. As a business, you can buy a car and maybe expense it as a company expense. And you can do a lot more things. And obviously, it's really the freedom of doing whatever you want to do. And then at the end of the day, as you kind of progress from that full-time role into a contracting role, you're kind of climbing up the ladders and you're acquiring more experience, and obviously you get to a point where you're a real expert or a consultant at what you do, and then you get to a lot more bigger projects. Obviously, that also follows by making more money, and that eventually it takes you on this curve that at some point maybe you want to become a coach or maybe a mentor. And maybe you want to have your own training or certification or whatever you want to do. But what I'm trying to explain is that that is a natural progression in this business. Full-time, yes, but to a degree, right? And you're not going to get that exposure of acquiring more knowledge and at a faster pace unless you actually take this consulting or contracting route. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Hope you liked this video and stay tuned for more to come. Make sure you click that subscribe button and I'll see you real soon.